Hey, have you ever wondered how to do a water pump on a 2010 Honda Insight? Maybe you wondered if a 2010 Honda Insight even had a water pump. Well, this one's a hybrid, and it's the first time I've actually had one in the shop, because we just don't see these kind of cars up here. Hybrids don't work very well in cold weather, and right now it's 15 below outside, and we've got a hybrid here. I mean, it started up and came in here this morning, so that's a plus. They actually do work in cold weather. So anyway, customers complaining that they've indicated the water pump was leaking, has a slight leak, so we're going to replace it. And I'm not the definitive resource on these matters, but since I've never done one, but we're going to give it a try and see how it goes. So the first thing I'm going to do is raise up the vehicle. You can, of course, do this on the ground. Just want to jack it up and support it properly. Don't get under a car that's not supported properly. Even if you're using jack stands, you don't want to just put those directly on an uneven surface or asphalt where it could tip over. So make sure your vehicle is lifted properly, and then we'll remove this right front wheel, and then you got to pull a splash pan, little splash shield off the side, and access those water pump bolts. We'll do that first. I'm going to lift it up. It's on my 2-post hoist, which makes it a lot easier. All right, first order of business is to pull the hubcap and remove this tire. Now we'll remove this splash shield on the side here. It'll give us access to the front face of the water pump and pulleys. Oh, crud. Great. Now it's time for some sweet GoPro footage. We're going to remove the bolts on the water pump. So before we remove the belt, we're going to loosen the 3 bolts that affix the water pump pulley to the front of the water pump. It takes 10 millimeter. Looks like I need to kind of hold the pulley while I remove the bolts. All right, well, apparently Hercules put these water pump pulley bolts on. Ridiculous. Ugh. Probably got blue Loctite on them, I guess. Okay, move this final bolt. And pop the pulley off. It's a little bit of a tight fit, but there should be room. I hope there's room. If there's not room, we're going to make room. Not room. What the pick? Boy, that's a tight one. Okay, I'm going to make some room. I'm going to use my pry bar against the crank pulley bolt and the unibody and push this motor over a little bit, enough to hopefully get this pulley off. Hopefully don't get my fingers pinched. Boy. make it sound so easy in the instructions. And the destructions. Oh yeah. So again, I just shoved my big pry bar and I pried against the crank pulley bolt, being careful not to touch the balancer pulley, and then pried the motor back far enough away to just weasel this water pump pulley kind of twist around and towards the front. I'm sure I could loosen some motor mounts up top and give me a little more room, but I'm all about saving you time and money, because money is time and time is money, and pry bars are sweet. So I'm going to go ahead and take the belt off, set that aside, and I'm going to show you the evidence of water pump leakage. Go back to the GoPro view. Blue fluid, Toyota antifreeze coming out of the weep hole. So that's what's going on. Did I just say this had Toyota coolant in it? Because I don't think it has Toyota coolant. I think it has the Honda coolant in it. I believe it's type 2 Honda long life antifreeze. That's what it is. So yeah, it's like 15 below outside. We're in Anchorage, Alaska, and we got a little bit of a cold stretch. And on social media, everyone's taking boiling water, throwing it over their head, and it turns to snow. So I give this a try the other morning. I get the water boiling and you know, take it off the stove and throw it over my head, and I didn't really notice anything. Just got the ceiling all wet, and my carpet was dripping on there. So total fail. I haven't quite figured that thing out yet, but it looks pretty cool when it works. Super cool. All right, next step in this simple process is to drain the coolant. You want to be a environmentally responsible person and recover antifreeze and recycle that properly. So just removing the drain petcock and allowing it to drain. But I forgot to remove the radiator cap as usual, so it's going to be a slow draining process. I think I'll lower it down a bit and remove the cap. I must say, so far so good. You know how you do a job for the first time and you're always wondering if the book's going to be right, or if you have all the correct tools and equipment, or if you're just going to be, you know, beating your head against the wall. But so far this thing looks pretty straightforward. So as soon as our coolant's drained out, we're going to just bust loose the water pump retaining bolts and rip that thing off of it. Use a 10 millimeter on a flex head ratchet, 1/4 inch drive. Oh boy, need a shorter socket. I'm going to remove the crank pulley, or at least try to. It may not come off of there, but try to remove the crank pulley, give me a little more clearance. Oh yeah. Now let me get to the top bolt. Okay, I've moved my drain bucket over below the water pump before I remove this last bolt, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna gush some coolant, but I'll be able to recover it. All right, I'm just going to tap on the water pump and let all hell break loose. And we're going to try to capture that on GoPro for the audience. Remove the water pump. That comes right out the bottom of the vehicle. Voila. Okay, for this job we've chosen to go with the Honda OE water pump. It's a brand new pump from Honda. Comes with this gasket attached to it. And reason why we went with that is there's no aftermarket pumps available, at least locally here in Anchorage. You might be able to get an aftermarket pump. I would definitely go with new, go with quality. But probably nothing better than the OE Honda pump. Get a closer look at it. There's the 3 pulley bolts. There's the 5 attaching bolts. So now I'm just going to make sure that my block surface is clean and free of any debris before we bolt the new pump back on the car. Always double check and make sure your seal is in the proper location. You don't want a little bit of it pooched out or it won't seat properly and you'll have leakage. So we'll go ahead and throw in the new pump. All right, we're supposed to torque these bolts, of course, but I'm not going to BS anybody. I don't know that I can get my torque wrench in there. I suppose I could get some of them with the torque wrench, but my torque wrench ain't going to fit. So just get them nice and tight with your 1/4-inch drive wobbly head, long handled ratchet with your short 10 mil 6-point socket. This would be a real handy tool for this job. Now we'll install the crank pulley. So now we'll reinstall the water pump pulley. Reinstall our water pump pulley bolts. And we tighten the water pump pulley bolts. Reinstall our serpentine belt. Now we'll have to go up top and actuate the serpentine belt tensioner in order to get the belt on that tensioner pulley. But I threaded it through everything down here first. And now we can go ahead and put the splash shield back on, tighten up the radiator drain petcock, and get this tire bolted back on and lower this thing down. Tighten it, snug it up using a torque limiting stick. Now I'll torque our wheels to 80 foot-pounds using my flex head half-inch drive torque wrench. It's a TQFR 250E model. I love this thing. Go ahead and install the belt onto the tensioner. I'm using a special tool, but looks like you could probably get away with a 14mm wrench. Okay, now just a matter of refilling the system. I'm going to use my airlift tool for that. I've got a video, I'll put a link in the description for the use of the airlift system, or just refill it. You just want to make sure you run it for a bit, don't overheat it, make sure it burps out, and you get it properly filled. You could at the same time, I suppose, flush out the cooling system. Be easiest to do that while you got the pump off and flush it out, get as much of that water out of there, then refill it with the Honda coolant, and then start up, make sure you don't have any leaks, make sure your belt's on properly, and then ship this thing down the road. Took less than an hour and a half here. Pretty straightforward job, so shouldn't have a problem with it. I do appreciate you stopping by. We appreciate the likes and subscriptions. Makes us happy. And we will catch you next time. Take care.